All right, what's going on, Coach? We want to put together a little video here, just to put out about everything a parent or an athlete might want to know or need to know about our youth program. That's become, one of the big classes here at our gym for our athletes, getting the athletes started. Had a great summer so far, so we want to keep it rolling into fall, winter, and just a year-round process because we know training is, a nonstop. Whether it is for athletes or adults alike, it's a life or it's a year-round lifestyle one way or another, keeping it going. It's not just a thing you do over summer and now I'm a stud athlete, now I'm in shape, now I'm strong. So we with it being more popular, picking up a little steam, we get a lot of questions from parents, and we kind of figured it'd be a good resource to put out, just answer a bunch here. Hopefully people can see this video and know everything they need to know. A little background about it, if someone's watching and isn't with our program yet. Just kind of the background of our program from my end, or I'll start with from Coach Waleed's end. I know he's coached a lot of different levels of football and worked in strength and conditioning programs with Maslin, Mentor. He's kind of co-operated a gym himself before this one, so and he's had a lot of experience with other youth programs. So he kind of brought some of that experience to our place at Canton Barbell. And from my end, I kind of wanted to take that, and we would get a lot of athletes coming in at age 15, 16, maybe even 17, and they want to get strong. They want to increase their speed. They want to really get after it in a sports performance program, but their movement quality is just not there. They look like beginners. They haven't done much before. They haven't had a lot of experience to training, and they can't do the things they want to do because they can't get into position. They don't have the ability to create the right amount of tension. They don't have the core stability to squat heavy, deadlift heavy. They don't have, kind of the spinal integrity and stiffness they need to lift heavy. They might do a squat of 135 and it moves easy, but their position falls out of place. So it's like you can't go any heavier until you learn that. And it's just a process. So we want to get our athletes to a point where come high school, they're ready to go. We've got them developed. They've, got all the basics, the annoying things you got to learn before you really lift heavy down pat, and they're experienced. Honestly, this opinion might vary coach to coach, but I think athletes should be pretty ready to go come 8th grade. Ideally, like you're starting to really squat, you're starting to really deadlift, do legitimate sled training, whatever it might be, but you're not just learning movements and basics. You're starting to really train by the time you're in 8th grade. I think that's ideal. We'll talk a little bit more about that in some of these questions, but anything else, Coach Waleed, before we start some of these FAQs?
No, mainly the kids are ready at a young age to learn these things, just like they're ready to learn in school. With their mind, they're ready to learn with their body. So I think a lot of people are, realizing that and getting their kids involved in training younger.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so hopefully we'll answer a ton of questions that parents might have about the program here in here. So we'll knock these out. I'll start it. I'll give some answers. You can kind of feed off it. So first thing, what age is the program for? If we put a post or a flyer out there, we put the age range of about 8 to 13 as our general age range for the program. Now, what we'll say too is if you take both ends of that spectrum, you have 8 to 13, say you have 7, like a 7-year-old or somebody that's 13 or 14, we usually say, they can definitely join. We're not going to turn them away. But what I would say is that, if they're, we potentially would say if you're real young, you're not quite at that developed age yet, because, as any parent knows, all kids are a little different in how they develop. If you have a 7-year-old that's a little more physically mature, we take a look at them, and they could start to learn some of this stuff. We'll take them. Some of them might come in and say, come see us, even in 6 months at that age, you might grow enough physically. But if you're on either end of the range, we'll take a look. Now at the upper range, if you're 13 or 14, sometimes the 13-year-old might be ready for a next level program. Other times, at 13, you're definitely ready. Say you're definitely ready for the youth program at 13, but you might be someone ready for more of our advanced, our next step, our next, level of program. So 8 to 13, if you're in that age range, ready to go. If you're somewhere in between, or any kid really, if you want to take a special look, quick assessment, we'll take a look at any kid and make a judgment call from there. Anything
Yeah.
like that?
I mean, things are progressed and regressed. If we have curriculum for a 13-year-old, we have it for an 8-year-old. Even if a 7-year-old can pick up straps for a sled and walk with it, and he's putting force in the ground, for example, he can hang from a bar just like he's hanging from a monkey bar on the playground. We tell him to pull up. We can get him started in learning how to do that technique. So there's simple things that those younger ages do, and as they continue to get older and progress, we can move forward with more advanced curriculum.
Cool. So that pretty much covers it. Next question: is it for boys and girls? Yes, absolutely. Obviously, hopefully everyone knows strength training is for everyone. It's for boys and girls. There's even a little bit of a more important factor with the girls as far as injury. Most parents of athletes have probably heard that at some point. Just anatomically with female athletes and hips and knee joints, essentially they're predisposed to a little more risk of knee injury. So getting some of this stuff down, strengthening hamstrings, glutes, quads, everything surrounding the area of that knee is just as important, and as far as reducing injury, even a little more important. And on top of the squatting and those techniques, the decelerating and the slow strength that we'll talk about is very important to protect that knee. Pretty simple there. This has been a big year. We're really happy to see the amount of female athletes we've gotten into the program. They're doing really good. Sometimes, parents know this too. At certain ages, they might have 2 kids that are around the same age, and the girls mature quicker than the boys. So sometimes, it's not like if a female athlete for any reason feels a little intimidated by it, we definitely would like to see them come try it out, because a lot of times, at a younger age, the female athletes are outdoing, male athletes at their age, because they tend to mature a little faster at the same age.
Yeah, we had groups this past summer. There were days that we'd have 5 or 6 girls and only 3 boys. So that's really, in the year that we've been doing this, has been the big a big difference this past summer, is getting those females in, and parents, realizing the importance of that.
Yeah, it's great. So good deal. What is involved? Is it we'll get asked a lot. Is it just strength? Is it speed and agility? Just a lot of different variations of that question. What's the program involved? What I would start off saying is that it's very comprehensive, physical development model. So it is a strength program, I would say, but it's a movement program, right? So we have a list of movement patterns that we want athletes to master, depending on how you break it down, 6 to 8 of them, and a ton of different ways you can advance each movement pattern. So, the squat pattern. Can you body weight squat well? Great. Can you goblet squat to a box well? Great. Can you goblet squat without a box to a deep squat well? So even though it's not a spot where they're gaining massive strength gains, they're gaining neurological strength gains. They're moving better. They're feeling tension. They're going through full body patterns together. And as far as the speed and agility question, we would say this is a full program where speed and agility is improved upon, but the way we approach it is a little differently. So what you're not going to see, which you might see some other places, is you're not going to see tons of time spent on run to this cone, run to that cone, back pedal to this cone, and call that speed training. We think at this age, learning how to properly drive your foot through the floor, use your hips and your glutes and hamstrings to propel yourself forward, start your sprint forward, get long strides, decelerate your body and change direction, in different positions, is what a real effective speed and agility program will look like for a kid at that age. Again, just putting you out with cones and run here, run there. Kids are going to get plenty of that. If you're playing soccer, go out and play soccer. You're going to get that aspect of the agility training doing your sport. All right. We want to actually stress the tissues in ways that they don't get as much from a baseline of strength and, at a neuromuscular level that they're not quite being exposed to. So that's how we approach strength conditioning. We feel it's much more effective use of the time we have here with them, and then they'll go to practice and they'll play their sport.
That's a big piece. Everything Mike just said about, educating the parents about, it's not cone drills and ladder drills. It's how to move your body efficiently, which and learning that will make you faster immediately. So, and then getting the repetition and, getting in the habit of doing that repeatedly is something that is, hammered home for at least 15 minutes each training session. So,
Yeah, like for example, even though it doesn't, to the eye, it doesn't look like agility training, but for the ability to change the direction a muscle is contracting, right? Because muscles are going to lengthen and shorten and have to change in that way. You start off your sessions a lot of times with drop catches. So standing on the plyo box, step off of the box, land on your feet and catch your position without crumbling, right? It doesn't look like you're running out, touching a cone and changing, but your ability to drop, own that position and up and come up is going to improve your ability to change direction, right? By decelerating the muscle, lengthening and shortening in a controlled manner, right? If you're somebody that crumbles when you hit the floor, then I can almost guarantee you're not going to be able to change direction in any kind of efficient manner. So if we can train those muscles and tissues to absorb that force, own it, and then, whether you drop, get into a sprint or whatever it is, you're going to be able to apply that on the field, again, better than just mimicking what you do in practice, except for it's premeditated, right? We know we're going to this cone. We know we're going to that cone. Where you go to practice, it's all unpredictable. So that's our general take on speed and agility. Hopefully that all makes sense. We'll move on to the next here. Are all training blocks the same or do they change? What I would say is that we have a curriculum, right? We write this out. We have a general template. It is going to stay, the curriculum doesn't change much. We're always looking at it and updating it, adding in stuff that we might think is important, maybe taking out stuff at a certain time that we want to focus less on. But the curriculum remains the same. What I say is on an individual athlete level, what they might be doing might be more advanced than what they were previously doing. So say you came all summer and you were learning to body weight squat and goblet squat. By the time you're done with summer, you were, goblet squatting really good. You've got the, moderate weight up high. You're sitting down into a good depth. You've got great tempo. You've got great spine position. By the time you're in fall, you might have a crew doing, starting to learn to do light bar squats, or zombie squats, essentially, where we hold the bar across the shoulders here and are sitting into, good position with the squat. So it's the same template, but individually with athletes, they can advance what they're doing based on what they're able to master before that. It's all either progressing or regressing, right? Still hear me, Wally?
And like another good example is, yeah.
Okay.
And another example would be a deadlift. We start out with a kettlebell deadlift and a sumo stance, and we're looking for certain things, in particular, to be able to advance to a trap bar deadlift, and a hex bar. And we had, a good amount of our kids this past summer progress in that way. Like, wow, it's I'm actually in a bar, and it's really cool to be able to advance to that. So they saw that, they realized what it took to get to that point. They got to that point, and now they're even hungrier for more. So it was fun to watch.
Yeah. So the way I summarize that is that everything is athlete based, not like it's athlete specific how you move through this program. So anyway, where was I? Do athletes have to come every day? No, we have it set up to where we definitely understand. I mean, we're not fighting with, but we're, competing time with practices, seasons, games, tournaments as it is. So we understand, what we can get you in is great. We offer 4 days a week right now. And in the fall, you're going to be doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So you've got a weekend option there. But you're definitely encouraged to come as often as you can. This can kind of tie into price at the end, but we've got it priced out. So, you're going to get your money's worth at a fair rate if you're coming twice a week consistently. If you're coming 4 days a week, then you're really going to get a great value. So, we don't expect, you to be there every single day, 4 days a week. But if you can get there, obviously, we want you there. We want you being as consistent as possible. You've got to be somewhat committed to it. You can't do one day every 2 weeks and expect a lot of progress either. So, if you're going to come into our program, make sure you've got some kind of time committed to it. But again, we definitely have an understanding that, most kids are doing something else at all times. Anything else for that? Pretty straightforward.
Yep.
How is progress tracked? I was asked this one the other day. This is an important one, I think, because I think it speaks to the main focus of our program. But we did decide on a couple things. We might look. So we have the vertical jump equipment here. We can take a look at vertical. So we did that this summer. So we'll do like a vertical and maybe a broad jump and see how your improvement there is. But the majority of progress we look for at this age, because of the nature of the program, is more qualitative than quantitative, right? So coach, Waleed, mainly if I'm helping them out during a session, we're looking at each athlete and trying to see how your movement quality improves, how how does your squat look? When you start out, did you just totally collapse? Chest and shoulders rounded over, no tempo, you just fall into your squat. Are you improving, starting to see tempo? You keep your back in a better position. You can sit lower into your squat. Do you hinge your hips correctly while keeping a good spine? When you're doing your sprint work at the beginning, are you actually driving forward instead of just chopping your feet real fast and not really going anywhere? You're actually propelling yourself forward. It is all very qualitative. Sometimes we'll try to, and I'm thinking maybe next block we do more of this, Waleed, is actually do a little bit of video analysis. So just a quick look, watch you squat, end of the block, watch you squat again, and maybe do kind of a side-by-side. So if parents want to see something like that, we can show a little side-by-side on the quality of the movement, because that's what it's really all about. And the goal is doing things better, doing things correctly.
Yep. The only thing I would add to that is, there's cues, there's prompts, there's language that we consistently hammer home, with all of our clients, and with the kids, and, it's again, similar to school, we want to hear that language being spoken back to us. So if we ask a question, what are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? It should be the same verbiage that we're using, that's coming out of their mouth. Now we know at least, they know what they should be doing, and they can, the repetition and the habit will then take over of actually, executing those movements. So
sure, because whether or not you want to be a real serious athlete, you play it for fun. You're not sure you want to be some high school stud or college athlete, or maybe you're not an athlete and you just want to work out. One way or another, if you want to take it seriously as you age and progress and get better, you're going to have to learn things in the weight room, beyond just, you don't want to just always be a monkey see, monkey do, participant. You want to know what you're doing in the weight room. So kind of beyond, I do things better, I'm learning the process of the weight room is also a sign of progress, I would say, in our program here. So good deal. Next, here we go. If an athlete is not able to do a movement, what do you do? Simply put, it's just that regression, you'd regress. So if let's say you can't, this is a common one, without just doing a free squat, you have a hard time sitting into your squat. You just look kind of like a baby giraffe trying to sit into it. Well, you would regress and have a body weight to box squat. So now you've got an implement under you and you're basically sitting your butt down to a box, right? So now you've got something underneath you to kind of track your depth, give you some reassurance as you're coming down. And then what we would look for is master that movement, sit in very good control of the box. All right, now we're either going to, once you master that, we'll either take the box away or we'll go a lower box. You know what I mean? So now control your squat down to a lower box till we can take it away. If you can't kettlebell deadlift, we might just want to see you do like a very basic hinge, with body weight, move with your hips, keep your spine in a tight position. But it's, again, just the progression. Every movement pattern has many different levels that we want to see an athlete move up the ladder or move back on. And it's always just a matter of you're somewhere on the ladder. When you master it, you move up.
Yep.
Makes sense. And there was another question. Essentially, the next question was the same thing. If a movement's too easy, what do you do? Same thing, you move up the ladder. And that's kind of what we mentioned in, I think, a few questions ago. Like you talked about, if you can master a moderately heavy kettlebell, you could start to use a trap bar, something you can really load up and move well with. Again, the squatting, the different steps that we talked about there. If most of the athletes do elevated push-ups at this age, so to progress that, you're moving closer down to just full blown on the floor. If you're just get to a point where you're absolutely crushing push-ups, maybe you do weighted push-ups. You might be an athlete that starts to do a little bit more dumbbell bench pressing. multiple different routes you can go, but you're just moving into more advanced levels or less advanced levels, depending on, who you are, what age level you're at, and, how long you've been at it. Oh, let's see. So we did, oh, here we go. Why isn't my son or daughter spent after a workout? So, if your son or daughter comes out of a workout, thinks, oh, it wasn't that hard. Sometimes the idea gets put out there that, to get, your time's worth or your money's worth. I mean, you should be exhausted. You should be sweating like crazy. You should be breathing, you should be sore the next day. Um, I'll let you hop into this one, coach, since you kind of spend more time coaching. But essentially, the answer is that our goal is not to exhaust the athletes, right? Our goal is not, how tired can you be? Because if that was the goal, then, you could take them out in the backyard and, tell them to run and pick up rocks and, to do whatever you want till they're sore and they're breathing hard and they're covered in sweat.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a boot camp. It's not a conditioning class. It's a, youth strength training, a movement class. So are there days where they may be pushing the sled for a little bit longer towards the end, and um, and they're getting a little bit winded and a little bit more tired, but it's still the strength component. There's still goals related to putting force on the ground and stride length and so forth and so forth. It's not just to tire them out. So everything we do, there's as a reason for it, and we're trying to teach, movements. We're not trying to teach how to breathe harder. So
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and again, it's not going to be a big issue where, there's going to be days where it's not as tiring, especially if you're a beginner, you just joined the youth group. Um, because we're going to have you really slowing it down, especially, if you're in your first few days. What I like to, I know you do it kind of similar, but, you might do sets of just 5 reps. So I can see your 5 reps, and then we'll talk about what you did right, what you did wrong, what you need to do better. But it's all, slowing things down so we can do them right. It's the biggest thing, honestly. It kind of can sum up the whole youth program, is that kids, God bless them for getting after it, is that they just are like, go, 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 go. And it's like the same thing with sprinting, right? Is that they just chop the feet so fast, but they're not really doing it all that right because they're not going anywhere. They're just pressing their feet straight down to the ground instead of propelling themselves forward. With squatting, you tell them to do a set of 5 squat, they're going to go pop, 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 and be done. Or we want to slow them down, do it right. Again, you mentioned it, you push the sled, you do a few rounds, they're going to get a workout in, but it's not the number one goal to condition. Again, it ties back, I think, to all these kids are playing sports. They're going to get, their hard work, they're tired at soccer or baseball or basketball practice or whatever it might be. This is a time to slow down and learn good movement, learn how to use your muscles correctly, your joints correctly, and get ready to lift weight. The time will come where you really can grind in a weight program, but this is, number one, a learning process.
the only other thing I would say is there is a sense of urgency, and it's not to make them breathe harder or to get them in better shape. I'd like to see you in a 6-7 minute window get 6 sets of 5 in instead of 4 sets of 5.
Yeah.
And it's not for the sake of getting of anything except for getting more repetition and building the habit of doing things right. You just did 2 more sets of 5, and there's just more practice in what we're teaching. So we stress that urgency every day.
Good deal. Next one. What if I want more personalized training? First thing I would say is, from my professional opinion, for what it's worth, very few kids are going to, in their age frame, are going to need anything that personalized. I don't even think many high school kids need anything that personalized, right? We all have the same bodies. We all have the same muscles. They function the same, especially at this age. We're all learning similar stuff, right? A good squat's a good squat. A good hinge pattern is a good hinge pattern. And they're all going to benefit the kids in the same way. When you're that age, just doing things a little bit better that we do here will make you move better in your sport. I mean, parents will come, to us and say they look better out there just from, a relatively short time, not from day one, but from a relatively short time, just taking time to think about movement. They look better out there running around. They feel stronger. running or kicking the ball or whatever it might be. So very few kids are going to need anything all that personalized. Again, because when you're a novice, you're going to get a return on very basic stuff. You're going to get that, it's not until you're very advanced that you specifically might need, you've mastered all the basics, and that takes years. We might need to look at you and say, okay, what do we need to focus on? So very few kids at that age range are going to need anything. If you really, really want it, my answer would just be, we'll meet up and talk with you and see what we can do, honestly. If we can do a one-on-one, if you really want it, potentially we can. And, but if you're in that 8, 9, 10, even up into 11, 12, once you get to the end of it, and I'll let you kind of take this next part, Coach, when you kind of start to see kids at the end range of that, or at the end of that age range in your group starting to look really good, what the next step is if they're starting to develop and they might want something a little more advanced or personalized.
Yeah, I mean, we already have a few kids, and there's been plenty of, in my experience, you get to a point where while they're progressing rather quickly, everything is clicking faster, and age wise, and weight room maturity wise, here now we could start talking about an advanced, it's usually in that 7th or 8th grade range. And I would say a big mistake that parents make is wanting them to get stronger so they feel like they have to bench in 5th grade, or squat, put a barbell and try to put a bunch of weight up. And it's just so simple at those younger ages to get stronger with different stimulus, that you don't need that to progress. You should be looking at your kids' confidence as they build through these programs. And simple, I've heard so many parents just tell me, my kid's more confident, even in soccer. They're going, fighting for a ball. He feels stronger now that he can fight for that ball. That's what, that's a healthy way of looking at it at that age, not, big numbers, or,
Yeah.
trust the process and get to that 7th or 8th grade where potentially, you can advance to that more personalized situation.
Yeah, but so essentially, like I said, if usually it would be more of a 7th or 8th grade thing, and maybe they've been in the youth program for a couple blocks or maybe a while, and you've got them at the top. They're at the top of your class. They do a lot of stuff right. I mean, they're starting to do some trap bar work. Um, Essentially, the next step in our program is you do move to the more personalized training style of the athletic program. Most of the time with me, sometimes, coach, you might help me out with it, but that's our small group training. I usually keep it below 6, and that's where we start to get into, real strength training again. So this is where, we have, it's a whole nother discussion, but our max effort lower days, our max effort upper, and our dynamic effort days, for developing true maximal strength, explosive power, starting to actually think about putting on, muscular mass, all 3 phases of development. So essentially what you would do is, you can make, if they think that they want something more personalized, you might make the recommendation whether they're ready for that or not. And then, a parent can decide from there if that's for them to take the next step. But essentially moving up our ladder in our development program.
Yep. Yeah. If you're 8, 9, 10-year-old and you're starting with us, it's not about, okay, we'd love to see if you're a block or 2, and I hope you can jump higher and run. It's, hey, we want you to go as long as you want in that youth block. When you're ready to go to Coach Mike, you're ready for Coach Mike, and to progress into middle school and high school, and it becomes a cumulative athletic career of us training you. That's the deal that we're looking for.
Yeah, and one thing actually, I meant to mention this in one of these questions, where the question about how is progress tracked and how we talked about how it's all qualitative. At the end of every block, we offer an opportunity for parents to sign up to meet with Coach Waleed, 10 minutes or so, just after a block, after one of the workouts. So if it's in the fall, it'd be right around 7 p.m. Little 10-minute periods that parents have the opportunity to meet with Coach. They can ask questions. How are they doing? Coach will give his feedback. This is where they're good. This is where they're a little weaker. This is where they can improve. And then that's where you can make a recommendation, whether they ask, or you could say, I think they would definitely benefit from at least one more block in youth. They're doing great. If you're younger, you'll probably have at least another year in it. Or if you think it's possible, you might give them the information about our next step, our conjugate athletic development system, and say, I think they're ready for this. You can make the decision if you want to advance them, or if they want to keep doing the youth program, that's fine too. But between you and the parents can decide what the next step is.
And we even have, we'll have a couple 14-year-olds this fall in the youth block, and they're kids that are brand new to training, that just because we say 8 to 13, it's basically a beginner's class, of the weight room.
Yeah.
So and they know if they're again mature enough weight room wise and progressing the way we see fit, that they can go to that personalized. So it's not, they can be a little bit older and just still beginning in the weight room.
Yeah, kind of the one we talked about that had signed up earlier. If you're on the fence, if you're an early teenager, I would say it would not hurt you to do a block of youth training, or even a month. We'll talk about kind of the different sign up possibilities here next, but it won't hurt you to do a month of training. See where you're at, learn. Coach is going to put you in a spot. If you end up being a little more advanced than you thought, coach will put you in a spot to get real work in. And then when either your month or your block's up and you think, okay, I'm ready for the next step, we can get you involved in the next step in the more advanced training. We'll wrap this up essentially with how to sign up, different options, and price. So we recently started doing block training, or block scheduling, I should say. These are 10 to 11 week blocks. Our next one is fall. It runs from August 16th to October 23rd. So each block is either 10 or 11 weeks. A block, we usually offer 2 weeks of early sign up. That's $200 for the whole 10 to 11 weeks on the early sign up. After the early sign up, which is usually 2 weeks before the block starts, we go to $250. Compare that to we have the month-to-month option, which is $119 a month. So whether you're an early sign up or not, you're going to save money doing a whole block, and you're also going to have that commitment factor. You have your athlete committed, for at least that 10 to 11 weeks of work, a couple times a week. Both are available. If you miss block sign up, you can always go month to month. You can join at any time, and it pretty much runs year round. So we're looking at having 5 blocks a year. Anything that I missed?
For example, we have a couple kids that they're going to be in season this fall, and they're only going to be coming in 1 day a week. There's an option. There's $15 a session. If you want to if you're able to come once a week, you can pay by session. If you're the type that just can get in whenever, you want your kid to get in, there's that option as well. So all 3 options pretty much cover everything you need.
Yeah. So for both of those, you're going to be, are going to be twice a week worth it. If you can make it twice a week, then it's definitely worth it to either go month to month or for the block. And so with anything outside of there, I think we pretty much have it covered. We've got a few more weeks to sign up. So again, on the 16th, August 16th, our next block starts. If you're ready for that, definitely, I'm going to pull up real quick. You can go, let's see here. Let me see if I can pull up the website here real quick. Before closing this out. All right. So if you go to our cantonbarbell.com, you're right here. Just go here and click on youth athlete. You can see any of this information. So if you're ready, you want to learn more, go ahead and go here. You can fill out this form here, or just look up our contact information and give us an email, call, anything if you're ready to get started. Anything else before we head out, Coach?
Nope.
All right, cool deal. Well, hopefully this answered anything anyone might know. I just figured this would be helpful. Hopefully have it right on the website or on social media, so any interested parents can flip through this video, hopefully learn anything they might be unsure about with the program. And we hope to hear from some new athletes soon. See ya.